This is the Energy Makers Show, featuring the innovators, financiers, and policymakers focused on the global energy demand. Brought to you by NRG, moving clean energy forward. And here's your host, Paul Dickerson.
Hi, I'm Paul Dickerson, and welcome to another episode of the Energy Makers Show. First up today, Paul Parsons, founder of Energy Training Resources, specializing in overview courses for the energy industry. Next up, Kevin Barber, CEO, founder of Veteran Energy, a veteran-owned retail electricity provider. All that right after this.
This is the Energy Makers Show, brought to you by NRG, moving clean energy forward. And now, back to the Energy Makers Show with your host, Paul Dickerson.
Welcome to the Energy Makers Show. We have with us today Paul Parsons, founder of Energy Training Resources. Paul, great to have you on the program.
Nice to be here.
So tell us about Energy Training Resources.
It's a company that I started 4 years ago to provide training for the oil and gas industry with a particular focus on all the new people entering the industry, because the industry went through a hiring gap from about 1980 to about 2000. And as prices started to rise, energy activity and oil and gas activity kept increasing, and new people were coming into the industry. And there's a saying that about 50% of the people in the industry are eligible for retirement in the next 10 years.
That's right.
So I saw a big market to provide training solutions to this new wave of people entering the industry. And we specialize in overview courses where we teach people about the entire industry. It's an ideal thing to do as you start your career so that you'll understand the industry better and be able to interact with other functions better. But we initially set out to develop a program that was good for newcomers, but our end product was good enough to keep veterans interested as well, and so we have a wide variety of people that come to our programs.
Well, and tell me how you deliver this service.
We have a one-day program that would be useful to anyone who is new to the industry or works with the industry but is really unfamiliar with the industry activities. We have 2- and 3-day courses for those who have a little bit more experience, or also for people who just have a high interest level, and those are the kind of people we love. And the 3-day course we have goes into the downstream area as well.
Well, I've heard great things about a video that you've produced. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, when we first started to put together our agenda, we realized that we can't PowerPoint people to death for 3 days. So we were looking for all kinds of rich media to incorporate into our programs. And we thought, well, having some video would be outstanding, and around the area of drilling would be a particularly useful area.
Sure.
So we set out to see what was already on the market to see if we could use it, and there really wasn't much. You know, there was a brief video that had been done, and we realized that if we were going to have that, we were going to have to make it. And it turned out to be quite a challenge to do that, but we succeeded in putting together a 2-hour video that shows the complete drilling of an oil and gas well, and it has all these side tutorials on, drill bits, drill pipe,
right,
rig structure, and everything. And the
well,
well,
it's very popular. Can you walk us through some aspect of that?
Absolutely. We've been selling the video for about 6 months now, and it's already being used by over 200 companies.
Right.
And it goes all the way from planning to production. In fact, it's called Oil and Gas Drilling from Planning to Production. And it starts with how an oil and gas well is planned by an oil and gas company.
All right.
And then we go into the site preparation. That's the pad where the well will be drilled and the access road to get in.
Right.
And rig mobilization, where they move the rig in on trucks and put it up. And then we go through the spudding of the well, and this was a shale gas well, so we had a surface hole, vertical section, curved section, and a lateral section. We cover all of that. And we even go through the fracking and completion of this well, the hookup, the surface facilities, and it actually ends at the tailgate of a gas plant where we explain where all this gas goes and where it's used.
Well, and I've heard you've really struck a nice balance between being too technical and maybe dumbing it down too much.
Well, most of the topics in the oil and gas industry are technical by nature, but what we do is we do sort of a semi-technical program.
Right.
And so particularly in the 2- and 3-day courses, we get into offshore drilling. We also cover the geographical aspects of the industry, discuss the major producing regions and what's going on there. And that gives people a good impression of the scale and diversity that the industry has. And so technical people give us good reviews. We get geologists and engineers in our 2- and 3-day courses, and they find it very interesting as well, because you just simply can't learn a broad amount about the industry on the job in a short period of time, and we provide that for people.
There are many of our friends in Boston, Silicon Valley, New York, who are investors and finance types that used to be investing in the web but are now investing in energy. I would think that they too would benefit from the video or some short course explaining sort of the basics of the industry.
Absolutely. And we do get quite a few investors. We get some royalty owners. We get a number of people involved in the industry. I'd like to see more regulators taking that course as well.
Yeah, I guess everyone in Congress, I think, could benefit in some way from watching it.
They absolutely could. And spending one day learning about what you're doing and in a way that could impact the rest of your career is, I think, a wise way to spend your time, and that most people should get started that way.
Well, I know you talk about some of the trends. Tell us, what are some of the new things coming in the energy space?
Well, there are a couple of big developments. One of them is that there's a huge gas price imbalance in the United States.
Right.
United States gas is cheaper than it is around the rest of the world, and within the United States, gas is also much cheaper on an energy parity basis with oil. And that gap is going to be attractive to profit seekers and value seekers, and they'll continue to exploit that until the gap starts to close some. And
in what ways are you starting to see them try and exploit that?
On the production side, we're already seeing this shale drilling moving away from what we call dry gas targets that are just plain gas into liquids-rich targets, and there's even some shale oil that is developed as well. And so these areas with liquids-rich production, like in the Eagle Ford, parts of the Eagle Ford, and also in the Bakken Shale in North Dakota, are highly active, whereas activity has curtailed elsewhere. And there's also talk of potentially exporting gas from the United States someday in the form of liquefied natural gas.
Right.
And that's far from being a reality, but nonetheless, if the price of gas in the U.S. stays low enough for long enough, then there will be incentive for people to move further towards that target. It'll be a little bit different than a gas project elsewhere in the world, though, because in some places around the globe, if they don't liquefy gas and export LNG, then they're not going to have any production at all because there's no local market. Whereas in the United States, they're just trying to exploit the gap between the U.S. price and the export price, and so that's a smaller gap available for that.
Well, as you look at the growth for your company, I would imagine that educating Americans is one good approach, but you have Asia, Latin America, Europe continuing to look. Any thoughts that you'll be translating some of these education services into these foreign languages?
We will, I believe. Our next step is to go online.
All right.
And we hope to be doing some of that by the end of this year, but that will allow us to reach anyone that has access to a computer anywhere around the world that speaks English. And then we intend to convert or translate both the video and some of these courses into other foreign languages.
Well, Paul, congratulations on your success. Thank you so much for coming in today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
And that concludes our discussion with Paul Parsons. We'll be back with more right after this.
Where will the energy come from to move us forward? From natural sources in abundant supply, or perhaps a man-made source? At NRG, we believe innovation will solve our energy needs. That's why NRG is moving away from fossil fuels towards wind, solar, and other sustainable technologies to power the smart grid, the electric car, and our clean energy future. We're using all of our energy to develop more of it.
This is the Energy Makers Show, brought to you by NRG, moving clean energy forward. And now back to the Energy Makers Show with your host, Paul Dickerson.
Welcome back to the Energy Makers Show. My guest now, Kevin Barber, CEO and founder of Veteran Energy. Kevin? Great to have you on the program.
Paul, thank you very much.
So tell us about Veteran Energy.
Veteran Energy is a licensed retail electricity provider in the state of Texas. We're the only licensed retail electricity provider that is veteran-owned in New York State as well as Texas. And we've been certified by the Public Utility Commission now and licensed for about a year.
Well, yeah, it's been a quick, successful start.
Yeah, I just looked around the other day and realized that we were granted our license, and at the same time we were going through the certification process for the VA to be certified as a veteran-owned small business, which was quite a task in itself.
And just so our audience knows, tell us about your service.
I was in the military police corps, the Army Military Police Corps, for 3 years. I handled canines. I picked up tours of duty in Grenada, Puerto Rico, Kansas, Texas, and a little time in Illinois and Alabama, and then got out to go for college. Utilized the GI Bill under President Reagan to put myself through college.
Well, thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Let's talk about power in Texas. Texas is different than other states. Can you paint that picture for the audience?
I think the best analogy is to look at Texas as an island. We produce all our own electricity here within ERCOT, and ERCOT comprises about 80% of the state, 75% of the population. So everything that we utilize here, we produce here, from natural gas to coal to nuclear to wind. And we've just come through a very volatile year, everything from the cold wave that hit last February to our August. And it was very taxing on the system. So right now we're looking on a go-forward basis. We've come through a very mild winter across the U.S., and subsequently natural gas prices, which our electricity prices are mainly tied to, have been trading off here recently. And what we're looking at now is what's going to happen this summer.
All right, so prices seem to be heading down.
They are, and as you know, by having a lot of the guests are involved in that in the natural gas field that talk about the shale plays and kind of what they perceive as the oversupply of natural gas right now. We're seeing that in the power market affect now, wholesale power prices and subsequently residential, commercial, industrial power prices as well.
Now, as we look to a summer where demand may increase, I'm assuming the supply and demand will play out, right? That you'll see those prices rise again.
You're seeing it right now in the curve. You're seeing July and August and a little bit of September that are that have that kind of fear factor, that volatility in the prices right now. But you level that out with the year-long strip, a 5-day, 16-hour strip of electricity. You can buy right now for a year at right around 3.2 cents a kW or $32 a megawatt. So it's a great opportunity. I still think there's going to be pressure on natural gas, but it's a good opportunity to come in and do some of your hedging right now if you're a commercial and industrial, or if you're looking to lock in a residential load.
Well, how did you decide to get into the power business?
I traded natural gas and electricity for about 16 years prior, and realized that there were no veteran-owned energy services providers out there that I could find. We had minority and women-owned businesses that participated in energy services, but I never saw a veteran-owned one. And I traded natural gas for Integris Energy, and Integris got caught up in the big, the crash of the market in 2008, shut down their wholesale trading operation here, and that's when I started looking at starting this business and actually do wholesale natural gas, participate in supplier diversity programs and government procurement on natural gas as well as electricity. We just signed a 1-year agreement with a VA facility here. The VA has a 20% goal that they have for their veteran-owned businesses that they need to procure services and products from. So we participated in that, and we service. We also sell to American Legions and VFWs as well as everyone in the state.
All right. So how broadly will you go? I mean, do you think that you will leave Texas as far as producing and selling power?
We're licensed in New York. We're also the only licensed veteran-owned retail electricity provider in the state of New York as well. We're not serving there right now. We're starting to go into the testing phase. I'm originally from New York, so it's a great entree into the market up there. So I would ultimately like to enter into every deregulated market that there is out there to to be able to do electricity and natural gas.
And how many markets are deregulated?
14 right now. And not all of them are both, but a lot of them are both natural gas and electricity.
And, so for those who are interested, is there a website or how do they find out about these monthly programs?
There is. They can go to LoneStarVeteransAssociation.org, and that'll put them into our vets list. And employers can go in and sign up and post all the jobs they want. There's no cost whatsoever. The Lone Star Veterans Association is a charitable organization that does nothing but help on a holistic basis returning troops assimilate back into society. So there's no cost to any of the troops, no cost to any of the employers. And we're just kicking it off. It just literally, we got it set up last week, and some of these young guys are doing some incredible work getting, a lot of these large employers, everything from production companies downstream, upstream. I'm looking for, customer sales reps and things like that. So it's a great opportunity, and coming from the energy side and you being an energy expert as well, to broaden and open up that field to some of these younger troops that wouldn't necessarily, or now they're civilians and citizens, that wouldn't necessarily look to go into energy. So I'm a huge proponent of it. I think it's a great opportunity, and I know you do with all the new technology and some of the great things that are coming down the pipe to push some of these younger people into that field.
Well, congratulations on the success of the company. Thank you again for your service.
Thank you.
And that wraps this episode of the Energy Makers Show, heard on the radio nationwide and seen right here at TheEnergyMakers.com. I'm Paul Dickerson, and we'll see you next week.